All right, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. One of the biggest guests, one of the most kind humans I've ever met. This is a little bit of a tangent, but stay with me. One of my really good friends, Nick Shackelford, had an insight at Geek Out that the real connections happen in the quote unquote in between. And so we were at an event, I believe it was Miami. We went to the Everglades, but the Everglades are about an hour and a half away. And I ended up sitting next to this wonderful gentleman named Eli. And we literally just blood bonded through the bus ride there, the bus ride back. And then when I was starting my previous podcast, You Are Not Your ROAS, he was just kind enough to come on then. But boy, times are changing. Let's just say this man is a lot harder to book now than he was then. And then also, I'd be remiss to say, probably the drippiest child on the planet. His son's fashion is absolutely top floor. But Eli, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Rava. Coming from you, that's a lot of praise. I will say, we did go to the Everglades. We watched some chaotic wrestling of
Very
crocodiles,
bumpkin.
which is probably part of the bonding
Trauma
experience.
Bonda.
Yeah, the way there was with you, and the way back I sat near Kenny from Mentor Pass, and it was that was like the OGs. A lot of connections happened in that trip in 2020. So it's
Oh
been
my God, it was
two
that long
years.
ago.
So it's 22.
Wow.
Yeah, 22. It's been 2 years.
Oh my gosh. And Kenny actually, ironically, or I guess ironically, I don't know what the adjective is, but he lives in my building now.
Really?
So the nexus of Austin is growing and
The
growing and
Austin
growing.
Mafia.
For people that don't know you, let's talk about kind of, where you were, where you are, where you're going, because you've really had, I don't want to say a glow up because you've always been a killer, but I feel like you just really found your stride and you went from, really your understanding of customer success and relationship building, and then you've just really scaled it up through the last, 3 years. It's been really remarkable to see your career arc. So can you give people kind of the elevator pitch in that kind of chronology?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I think it's interesting. Careers are interesting in general, right? Like we go to college, we start off with an idea that we love finance or whatever, and then we go from finance to finance to finance, and all of a sudden we're 60. We hope that Social Security hasn't run out so we can retire. And I think that's interesting for me because most of my upbringing was nothing close to traditional. So I've shared this in the past, but I grew up one of 10 children in an ultra-Orthodox universe, never went to high school, never graduated college. I spent my early 20s traveling with points and miles when I should have been in school. And all of a sudden I'm like, shit, I'm 22. I have no marketable anything. Do my GED, don't know if I want to go to college, land in a customer service job because that's like the entry level job.
Yeah.
My kind of thing was, okay, I know the science of people. I feel like I get humans. And that was my job. And a couple of years later, I'm at this tiny startup and we're doing all different things. And suddenly I'm running the Facebook ads and the Amazon ads and the ops and logistics. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I guess I'm the CX guy because nobody else is the CX guy. And I don't love the energy on the other side of the aisle. So let me just stay in this like introverted, empathetic corner of startups. I love startups.
Yeah.
I love entrepreneurship. I love building. I started a startup. The startup fails. My wife and I moved back to the US where 2020 COVID happens. I say, okay, I'm going to do CX. I apply to like 80 jobs, get nothing. CX is my thing. I jump in to a company called Nugs without any clue what it was. It was small startups. I don't know, 12 employees, not 11 employees. A few weeks after I start, there's this other guy he starts. His name is Shrey Joshi King. So that was like 2020. We both start together. It took me a couple of weeks to realize this is not my move. I spent 4 years at the last startup. A couple of weeks in, I'm like, no, I don't think this is going to work for me. And I have started kind of sharing a little bit on Twitter. I had a couple hundred followers. Somebody connected with me. He pitched his startup. He's like, hey, you should join. He was pre-launch. His name is Kevin Lee from EMI. This is like pre-launch, like 6 months before launch. And I said, no, I'm actually ready to make a move now. He's like, oh, you should talk to my friend Steven from Olipop. And this is like very early 2020. Shrey introduces me to Nick Sharma. And this is like what we see now on D2C Twitter. I feel like a grandfather here, but not many people know that everyone you know on D2C Twitter didn't exist in 2020. Like Nick
Jeez.
Sharma is the person. Like The Avi Boys, Kings, didn't have a social presence on Twitter then. Like
That's
Cody didn't
exactly
have
right.
nothing was
Exactly
happening
right.
in D2C Twitter. D2C Twitter was a ghost house, and it was Nick, it was Moyes, it was a couple of growth agency guys. Shackelford
Yep.
was on Twitter then. It was like a much earlier, quieter place. Jumped into Olipop again, 17 employees. I think I was number 17, mostly on the West Coast, slowly transitioning to ecom. No one knew of it. I didn't know of it. And then 2 years later, it's like, okay, 75 employees, about to hit 9 figures, and kind of explosive role for me. Again, I'm like the CX guy because that's my job and that's what I'm good
Yes.
at. And then got pulled into Jones Road through Twitter, connecting with Cody. We became friends. I get pulled into that job, and that was my first CX and retention role. And then I had like a quarter life, midlife crisis almost 2 years in, where I realized that like I just keep taking the next job because that's what I told myself I'm good at, but I'm just continuing to get burnt out too quickly. Like it shouldn't
Yep.
be that 2 years in, you're just like over it. And it had nothing to do with anything other than myself feeling like
Yep.
this was the challenge and it wasn't as challenging, meaning it was challenging, not in the right way. Like you want the challenges to be things where you can stretch, but in your realm of interest. When it's like suddenly like now I have to be like a contribution margin king and
Yeah.
fuck with spreadsheets, that's
Yeah.
not the zone of challenge. And that kind of caused this massive midlife quarter life crisis for me where I said, I don't know that I liked any of this
Yep.
in as much as I needed a great job that paid well. And I chose good startups without knowing what I was looking for. I got really lucky that I chose great killer startups. And then I have this moment where I'm like, maybe the things I was optimizing for was not at all the things that I should have. And I
Yep.
kept telling myself, I'm a food and beverage CPG guy. I'm a CX guy. I'm going to do the guidebooks, the handbooks. I did 85 to 90 mentor pass sessions around CX and
Let's
retention. I'm just like,
go.
this is my thing. And I realized that I have to just peel it all away. And in August of last year, I said, okay, the three things I care about have nothing to do with the size of the startup, the series, the amount of employees. It has more to do with three things. Number one, I want to work with people that are insanely smart. I want to feel like the dumbest person in every meeting, period.
Yep.
Like I want to be mentally challenged. Number two, I want a challenging problem. Like working at a company that's crushing would be great for 95% of the universe. It's not for me. It's not the
Yep.
kind of challenge I like. I want challenge. I want like this can all die tomorrow challenge, or
Yep.
it doesn't have to die tomorrow. It can be like this is a big hurdle to overcome. And
Exactly.
three, I want to have fun. Like I think I've been guilted by the previous generation, by my previous jobs, and thinking like you got to hustle, you got to grind, you can't sit in meetings, you got to send looms, all this bullshit. Whereas like no, I think that there is a universe, or I believe there is a universe where I can work my ass off but really enjoy it and be okay leaving my yesterday I left my house 5:30, got to New York City
Yep.
at 7:30, left the office at 7:30 p.m., got home at 9:30 p.m., and I got home invigorated. And I was like that was a blast. And I felt so much guilt getting there. So that's like the TLDR of the 30-second elevator pitch that got me from, well, I guess we're in 8 minutes now, but got me from a little kid in Jersey to working at Yotpo. Uh,
I mean, I think it's beautiful, man. I had similar trajectories in terms of trying to figure out, like, it's almost important, and I would argue maybe even more important to know what you don't like than what you do like. So there was a great study from a Microsoft engineer, maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, and basically the too long didn't read was most people are defaulted to happy, and so you actually don't, it's more efficient if the goal is to generate more happiness to actually remove, so a reductive strategy, remove things that are making you less happy than actually trying to find things and additive that make you more happy, if that
hmm,
makes sense. And so
hmm,
one of the two things for me was really wanting to control my schedule and not be in traffic. I think
yep.
traffic is one of those things that you can just never inoculate yourself from. Like it's crying babies in traffic. Like I think those are just ingrained in the human, and it is so stressful. It's so useless. And again, this is I did what I have to do when I had to do it. Like when I was younger, I was driving an hour one way to a nonprofit that was paying me nothing. I had to dress up like a monkey. I didn't have like the AC went out in my car in the summer in Austin. So I'm sitting there like driving shirtless. So I'm not sweating out my shirt when I get to office. So I'm not saying this is where I started, but it was really adamant that these things were not value drivers and they didn't give me energy. And not only did they not give me energy, they sucked it away from me. But what I love about you as well is your ability to understand what you're really good at and then realize that there was different value vectors that you could really excel on where D2C just inherently has low ceilings. Like it just does. Like no matter how, like JRB is an absolute rocket ship, and no matter how big it gets, there's just ceilings in a company
Yep.
at D2C. Whereas B2B SaaS is just bigger pockets. There's less of a, not that there isn't like Fire Alarm Fridays, but almost every B2B SaaS company sees the world through quarters, not days, weeks, months, where like D2C is very truncated timelines. Like, how did we do this time, that time? And a lot of things that you're doing need like a fine wine. They need time to age, they need time to breathe, and constantly having those mismatched timeline incentives, it gets really stressful. It gets really stressful. And then the last thing I'll say is just horses for courses. You know what I mean? Like, you're incredible. And if you hate spreadsheets, like find stuff that you don't have to live in the spreadsheet. And so I don't know, I just marveled at kind of how you navigated all this. And I think it's a really awesome bellwether for the youngsters out there trying to find their trajectory. Cause it really is, man. I think one of the best things you can do as a young gun is one, try and get to a big metropolis as quick as possible, because there's just so much more economic opportunities. And then two, create content, figure out ways to get your ideas out there. Like, you have no idea who's going to read it, who's going to look at it. And at worst, it helps kind of sharpen your sword. And I find it, I don't know if you're like this, but I find I can bullshit in pretty much any medium but writing. Like, I can't lie to myself when I write an essay. Like, I can
Yeah.
kind of riff on a podcast and a conversation, but when I write, I just can't. There, that's the real truth, quote unquote. And then it really helps me understand again why I have these theses. Are they correct? And what's the data I'm using to generate them? But it's so cool. So tell me more about the Yotpo courting. So
Yeah.
for people that don't know, I mean, and no shade or anything to the previous roles, but I mean the size is just orders of magnitude. Not only in the funding, not only in the run rate, not only in the operations. I mean, it would be almost an equivalent of going from basically a mom and pop computer store to IBM. Like, I mean, these things are just so far apart in scale. How did you,
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about the courting, because it was, and for people that don't know as well, especially if you're just now getting into the scene, real recognized real, Yotpo had a little bit of a extractive slash negative
Yes.
connotation to the brand. To be
Yes.
fair, the company's always been ripping. The company's been printing money, so there's never really been proper business impact of the brand degradation to the actual business. But it started to become a bit of a thing.
Yep.
And I know Tomer he's an absolute G. The CEO, he's founder as well, or
Yes.
just CEO. Yeah,
Both.
wonderful guy. I've only interacted with him a couple of times, so I follow him. He's just a one of those people that just make you smile. He's just a genuine killer. Like, I really really respect and admire that guy. But was he the one hunting you down, or like how did this materialize? Because it feels like a little bit like that, because he sees the
Yeah.
field, man. He sees
Yeah.
the field.
So let me give you the spiel. So I have this moment where kind of August, between a year and a half and 2 years after I joined Jones, I came in with very clear challenges, very clear kind of missions. I wanted to learn much more about the science of retention than the art. I jump in. Joanne is there, one of the most legendary operators I've
She's
worked
awesome.
with. She's crushing, and everything's going well. Like we're breaking records. We hit 9 figures. Everything is crushing. This is Bobby Brown. This business can't fail. I mean, this is like the ultimate. And I get to a point where, and again, this is like my existentialism is like, I realize this is just not doing it for me. I have a ton of direct reports. I'm building this CX team. We're known for great CX. It's like everything I aspire to do, I'm doing. And yes, like there's always going to be places I can improve, but I'm from the outside looking in, crushing. From the inside looking out, I'm doing very well. And I get to this point where I'm like, okay, this is breaking my brain. It's just like I'm not here for the money like I used to be. The newsletter is like a whole standalone business. Like I don't have to be here. I can quit and sit in this room and do nothing. And then the question becomes like, okay, if I can sit in this room and do nothing, what do I really want to do? What kind of challenge do I want to get to? And that's my existentialism August moment. The first thing I do is I say, okay, I'm not a mentor kind of guy. I have nobody I call and ask for opinions. I got to change that because I see things from a very small kind of lens and I want to go wide. And I speak to like all the well-known D2C founders that you'll see on the podcast, like all those kind of like the people that I've met once or twice that I know who I am. And I basically ask them all, like, some of them know Cody, some of them know Jones Road, some of them don't know anything at all. And I say, like, this is the largest opportunity of my career. I'm doing what I could sit, I can continue building, but it's not doing it. And they all said the same thing. They're like, you got to go. Like, you got to go and you got to find something that really talks to you. You have very, very clear understanding of what you're interested in and what's important to you, and just go. And I say, okay, let me be as open-minded as I can. Throughout my career, I've taken interviews at like Built early in the days. Like I've never been stuck in D2C. I just ended up continuing to get great jobs in D2C, CPG, but I've always been open. And I said, okay, let me just talk to a bunch of people. A few of the people that I connected to over the last couple of years mentioned Tomer, mentioned Yotpo. Tomer's been like actually like week 2 newsletter subscriber that's read almost every newsletter that I've ever written, period. So Tomer's like, him and I have known each other exist. I've had admiration for what he's built. I will say I've turned Yotpo as a customer twice. I had to delete tweets before I took the job here. So I was not a Yotpo fan, tweeted a bunch of things with everyone else on D2C Twitter. Like you said, Yotpo is doing very well. So that's also a very interesting learning that what happens in D2C Twitter is 1% of the people that love tweeting. The rest of like massive operators, I mean, Yotpo, I don't have to tell you the list of brands, but they work with the best of the best from SMB to enterprise. So they're okay. But again, it's like I was part of that zeitgeist. I was part of the zeitgeist that said absolutely not, use X, use Y, use Z. Yotpo sponsors my newsletter, and I basically I'm writing this ad copy, and I'm writing ad copy that they have this retention. I'm literally writing copy that it's like, wait, that's what I was thinking about, is like, how do we actually have a platform that's thought holistically? So from a product lens, I'm like, wait, there's something wrong here, because like I didn't even know any of this exists. I knew of them as like 3 different apps that were purchased, built, whatever, and now they have a vision here. I completely missed that. Let me kind of connect with Tomer as one of the people. I write about the newsletter. They sponsor it. I send him a DM. I say, love what you're building. Thanks for sponsoring the newsletter. He says, let's chat. We get in a call. And he starts the conversation. Within 3 minutes, he looks at me and he was like, you're definitely going to leave the job. Would you be interested in SaaS? And I say, like, no, absolutely not. Like, no chance. And he's like, okay, let's talk. And we just continue talking. And he says, listen, there's no pressure at all. I want you to talk to these 2 other people at Yotpo. And the 2 other people I talk to are like 7, 8, 9-year veterans. And I'm like, okay, the insight I have is the 3 people I talk to across leadership are insanely sharp, like 10 times smarter than I can ever be, insanely ambitious, insanely kind. And I'm like, there's this massive gap. And like any operator, when you see that gap, you know that's the opportunity, right? There's this massive gap in between the way people know of Yotpo and the decisions they've made in the past because of the money they've raised or because they operated in a spreadsheet versus the people there. And to me, there's this massive gap. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I think it's interesting enough to continue talking. Tomer says, he's like, you're an entrepreneur without the risk tolerance, and it's clear that you want to get paid. It is. So, and it's true. It's true. I love, and my newsletter is kind of my side hustle, but I do love, I love a W-2. I have a wife in med school. I have a 3-year-old. I love a paycheck. And he said, he's like, just continue talking. Let's see where this goes. And at some point, like, if you're interested in taking a couple of weeks to just like tinker around and see what you can do, he's like, I have zero doubt that there will be things for you to do here. He makes it, like, we continue talking. He makes up a title that like was pulled. We just pulled it from anywhere. It made no sense. It was like, okay, cool. Let me start and let's see what I can uncover. Everyone I spoke to seems sharp, and it seems like a business that would like they could use some help, but they're not going anywhere tomorrow. And
Yes.
I literally just spent 6 weeks going on like a tour. I've never worked at a company with more than 75 employees. There are 800 plus. So I'm like,
Yeah.
spend time in the Tel Aviv office. I meet with product. I meet with engineering. I meet with marketing. I meet with PMM. I meet with literally across the business. And I'm like, okay, the biggest opportunity is not customer experience. It's not, I mean, like, yeah, there are opportunities everywhere, but everyone's clear on the problem and everyone's clear on like how we get to a solution. There's like a massive cultural change that they're already kind of moving towards, that I feel like we can evolve the business together in a way that
Yeah.
like we know what the 2.0 looks like. And it's like we were too salesy, we were too aggressive. The pricing was a little crazy. I
Yep.
mean, like we've gone too far to one side, and I know that
Yes.
I live and breathe this market, and I can bring Yotpo back to the market. And that was like my insight. And I was like, the people are great. There's a massive delta here. My 6 months will be to pull things back. 2 weeks in, Ralva, somebody gets excited about a picture I post in the office and just goes crazy on me when it was 3 a.m. Tel Aviv time, which was such a beautiful moment because I couldn't figure out a way to, how do I post like why I joined Yotpo? Nobody gets it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
tweet was like, that was my messiah. That was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is it. Like,
Oh,
ostentatious office, so fancy. They're so out of touch. G-Wagon. That was my moment. And I jumped in and I was like, you don't get it. Like, I'm a CX guy. I will take everyone's shit. This is my
yeah.
MO. Like, watch me. I will go through every single comment, print it out, put it on my wall, and fix every single
Yeah.
one of these things. That's the challenge I signed up for. I don't have a big ego. I've been getting stamped on my whole career. Trust me, I
Yeah.
got this, or I'll die trying. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of this that's fixable. And again, it's like, and I know this. Like, I'm liked in e-commerce because I'm kind, because I'm empathetic, because I want other people to win. They
You're
hate
sincere.
Yotpo for a lot, yeah, and they hate Yotpo for a lot of reasons. So temporarily, between you and I say, watch me just stand right here. If you
Yeah.
want to hate Yotpo, just go through me. So hate me first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right away, probably 90% of D2C Twitter with big mouths, shut up.
Yep.
90%. And the
Yep.
other 10%, I'm like, you go, have fun, have a
Yep.
blast. But if you have a problem, I think I can bring this to where it could be. And again, I totally get why people are frustrated and why people have had negative experiences and they can't get over it. As somebody that had those same experiences, I have gotten over it. But if you don't, I totally get that. That's not my goal. My goal is not to solve everyone's wrongs. My goal is for the people that are willing to accept the fact that things can change over 11 years.
Yes.
That's my audience. And temporarily, I stand here until we can move this from here to here. And then I move out and figure out what part of the thing I touch next. That's my most amorphous, blurry job that I took, and it's been like 9 months.
I mean, I think it's absolutely beautiful. And, honestly, tactically, from me being I used to be so just balls deep in direct response. And when you get into SaaS, like, it's this weird thing, like brand matters, especially in a commoditized vertical where I
Yep,
wouldn't say, I mean, Yotpo plays in a lot of commoditized
for
verticals,
sure.
but it's a little different because it's has that one house kind of vector. So it's not that, but it's more so like, here's a perfect example. I would argue Triple Whales, and still super friendly with the founders, love everybody over there still, but I would argue Triple Whales brand is the weakest it's ever been, and they are absolutely printing money.
Yep.
And so, like, I think people can get hung up on brand too much. But to push back, I would argue that they would be doing way better if the brand was, and I would argue they wouldn't have gotten to where they were without the brand tailwinds. And
Brand
so I
is that
thought,
long term, right? Like brand is that long term, and you can still print in the short term. I mean, brand helps for both, but like brand is that full story, and printing money is like the direct response, right?
yeah, well, brand to me changes people's perception of you aren't like it's almost brand to me is the bifurcation of a subscription and a membership.
Mm-hmm.
A subscription is AT&T, a subscription is Google Fiber. Like I don't like these people, but I have to give them my money every month because I need my cell phone, I need my internet. Where a membership is a
Soho
Soho
House.
House or something where it makes me feel part of something. It's not like they're not just taking my money and giving me this. It's very similar to like a transactional relationship with a friend and an actual like friend, like a transaction business relationship and a friend relationship. Like I have a really good buddy who does like he's like a three brain kind of coder guy. and he writes like this esoteric Rust stuff that only like X amount of people in the world, and he just gets paid $1 bazillion because something always happens, and like they have to call him. He's like, okay, it's going to be $1 million an hour. They're like, yeah, just fix it. And if I asked him to move and I was like, hey, I'll pay you $500 to help me move today, he'd tell me to go, suck a dick. Like, dude, I make that in 10 minutes. What are you talking
Right.
about? But if I was like, hey, would you come help me move? I'll buy some pizza and beer. He'd absolutely say yes. And I think that's where brand starts to become really powerful, where it just unlocks things that, man, when people know you, like you, trust you, it is an absolute superpower, especially if they like you. You can't suck all the time. Like, to
Yeah,
your point, I think what's working for you is because there's actual real change happening at the company that is supporting what you are promoting. I
for
think
sure.
where this falls flat is if somebody brings in an Eli and then there's still a bunch of sketchy shit going on where you're like, dude, Eli, you're talking out two sides of your mouth. Like you said, you're going to help me on pricing and packaging, and I just got this really exorbitant
Correct.
contract or something like that. So I think that's where, in my opinion, Tomer was he found the spearhead to move the army back into like friendly territories of like, hey guys, we aren't those people anymore. And to your point, like, people change, dude. Things change, and I think it's just so beautiful. And the way you've humanized the brand, I think, is just such a top floor. And you obviously know this because you're in the weeds of CX. But if you're never in the weeds, or if you've never done customer support, the second you become a human and that person has to talk to you as a human, I mean, yes, there's douchey people, and then there's still going to be those terrible humans, whatever. Those people are, everybody's on a journey and they're going through some stuff. So I try not to judge. But for the most part, everybody cools their jets. They're like, oh, yeah,
Yep.
I'm not mad at you, man. I'm just mad that my package didn't get here. And
Yep.
is there anything you can do to help me? And you doing at the macro level was just so brilliant. And then the coup de grace. Tell me about this. They're in the closet. I'm unboxing them today. I was gonna do it live with you, but then I didn't want to put you on the spot. But tell
I
me
mean,
about,
you
like,
should
okay, so
still do it live. I think you can
should
go
we do
grab
it?
it. Yeah, I think you can go
Should we
grab
do it
it.
live?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, while I'm gonna go grab the shoes, before you get to that, tell me your macro plan. So, or
Yes.
not your so you went through your strategy. Tell me the tactics now that you're going to use to accomplish said strategy, because you've had a bunch of really cool ones. I didn't see any of the out of home buys, which I was kind of sad about though, because those looked really cool with the faces stuff. But okay, keep going. I'm gonna grab the shoes.
Yes. You'll see more. There's more out of home. There's more that came from that's coming up. But I think the kind of overarching problem solution kind of we explained, I think for me, it's again, like I've said this my whole career, it's very easy to hate Yotpo. It's very hard. It's a little harder to hate Eli or the team at Yotpo. So bringing the team to the forefront and kind of like, instead of just sponsoring a dinner, have people that are likable at said dinner, I think has been kind of interesting. Instead of it always being everything sales, let's have more like the softer side of the business. I think again, like the marketing team that exists today is the same marketing team that exists 10, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or 3 years ago. I think the difference is that today we're trying to create marketing that actually resonates and you feel deeply with the end consumer. So I think it's
Yes.
like me bringing them back and saying like, no, this is interesting. This isn't interesting. Like having somebody
Yes.
like, I'm the person they're trying to sell to. I'm the retention person they would have sold to. There's that too.
Well, and I think this is such an interesting point, because I think a lot of, obviously self-proclaimed success at Triple and now at Firmont is because I was the ICP.
Correct.
And so the like learning B2B SaaS was not that hard. Like, to be fair, it's very sophisticated. It's
Yeah.
not like it is D2C on steroids. I'm not saying, but like I went to school for economics, like
Yeah.
data, numbers, systems. Those aren't like foreign to me. That's actually like I was an engineering major before that. Like, I'm a big nerd. Like, so the intellectual bandwidth was there. And I think that was way easier to learn than understanding marketing, understanding ads, understanding deployment, understanding marketing mix, under like all these things that actually matter. And I think that's why when I chat with people, we connect, is because I'm them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh, dude, oh, cool. How are you deploying your ads? What are you doing? What's your
Right.
marketing mix look like? How's this channel working? Oh, how are you tracking your performance? Like, all these things are like, this is why I always get tired at events, because I hate small talk. So it's like literal, sincere, interesting, curious questions that just wrecks my social battery. But I think that is one of, if you're hiring out there, one of the biggest things that, so I hire one on vibes, but also if that person knows the customer or is the customer, that's a
Correct.
huge like point boost versus if they know the actual
A lot
business
easier
or
to
the
teach the other side.
software. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay.
Correct.
So you did the out of home buys. Tell me, because the face thing was cool. It's like, how
So
did that come
yeah,
up?
so the frown campaign was in the works before I came. I kind of helped with very little bit at the end. Like I said, like the marketing team at Yotpo has been around for a while. We've kind of switched in the last year or two, or I'd say like year and a bit. Instead of like this straight always direct response DG, it's been like a little bit
Yep.
more brand. So we're starting to think large. We understand that there's this larger brand mission that's happening as we speak, and that we're thinking about that in a couple of different ways. Like I think there's like the ecosystem, the people, the movers, the shakers, the important ones, even if they're not the famous ones, and then there's like the higher level top of funnel, similar to the way you think about anything else. We've learned a few things. So we've learned, number one is like, regardless of the direction of the campaign, when you win on brand, it helps all the products. Like the campaign we did for SMS was you're making your customers frown by sending batch and blast campaigns, and a lot of our competitors in this space are okay with that because they get paid per credit. As do we charge per credit, but we actually on the CS side will tell customers, no, actually don't send. Within product, we literally will say, do you want to exclude these customers? Because we know that's probably not the right decision based on previous data. So I think that was like the thing was like, let's tell people that they're making their customers frown by sending too much. It obviously had two components because there's their angle and the end customer, like their end customer angle. But I think
Well,
that was like,
I would push back too and say there's three components there. It also positions you guys customer first, not profit or business first, where it's like, hey, we don't mind losing a little bit of money if you're getting more value from our platform. And that's a big, or that is very orthogonal to previous Yotpo.
A, but B, and if we're being real for a second, SMS is not the money printer like people think it
That's,
is. The margins are razor thin. We'd rather
oh,
have a happy customer on SMS and not spend as much, and then bring them into the rest of the universe where we can actually make the real money. Okay.
but this is why it's such a win-win,
Correct.
because you're saying this, it's not, it's not altruistic, but
Correct.
it's real. Where it's
Correct.
like, I care about you getting more value out of this platform. And if that means you spending less, it's the perfect archetypical example of one of the ways for a waiter to get a bigger tip is
Correct.
okay. I come and I'm like, hey, Eli, what do you suggest on the menu? And like, hey, you see that tomahawk for 250 bucks?
Yeah. Go for the
It's
cheaper one.
really not that go. Get the
Yeah.
filet. It's
Yeah.
only $100 and it's way better. And boom, I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, this guy's already on my team. And I think
Yes.
that's brilliant. And that it's also brilliant, shout out Tomer, that the business model now supports that. Where
Correct.
it's like, hey,
Correct.
dude, we can, because you can't just give up money, you know what I mean?
Correct.
But now that you can just see these incentives aligning and you becoming this
That's
connective
that
tissue
platform.
between these, it's gorgeous. Or
Yeah.
from like an economics business like guy that loves to print money but also loves
Yes.
brand. This
Yes.
marriage is just, it's
So
my,
the,
it's my
I
ideal.
would
It's
I would
amazing.
highly recommend at some point in time having Tomer, because he's like if I'm like the 6 months, he's the 10 years, and he's kind of like sees this in four
He
dimension.
sees the
Like
field. Yes.
he gets it better than anyone I've ever spoken to. Period. Like I don't think I've ever
Yep.
met anyone that has the EQ and the IQ at the level he does. He gets
Very well
people, and
said.
he gets both. But I do think,
Very well
yes. So
said.
that's frown, right? Like we did this campaign. We said
Yep.
let's tell a story. Let's do it with AI. Let's do it interesting, and it resonated big time. We got really lucky that the timing of the campaign was around e-tail, and then we said, okay, let's kind of bring it into e-tail, and then we said, oh well, it's shop talk. Let's bring it into shop talk, and we got creative with Brian from Quan, our friend, who helped us with Out of Home. And I think
Yeah.
the second thing we did, which we launch now, which again, like I'll give you the T on this campaign.
Yes.
The T on the walkaway is we kind of had this problem, very, very, very understood, that like everyone chooses the one email provider because you don't want to mess around. You don't want to like just use the thing that works. And we realized that instead of saying we're the best, because we don't have to say that, and we don't have every bell and whistle that everyone else has. Yes, most people probably don't use 90% of the things they pay for, but instead of saying we're the best, let's just make a statement that other things exist. This was pitched. Leadership didn't love it. They're like, well, everyone's going to be excited if they get free shoes. We made this campaign a lot stronger over a couple of months. So it was pitched probably end of last year. We made it really, really, really strong in like February, and it was pitched again as like it's okay to walk away. So a much more like a higher level message, right? It's like it's not just the shoes. It's okay to walk away from what you're used to something you deserve. The fact that other things exist, it can be your relationship, it can be your email, it can be
Beautiful life
anything.
message.
Yes, and then we have an insane team that is insanely obsessive about every detail. So it morphed into beautifully hand painted shoes that are just ridiculous, and Raba has them in front of him.
So if you guys are, if people are listening, this will be on YouTube as well. If you want to see the unboxing, I'll cut this out as well. Also, I am such a sucker for copy. That's a bar.
It is a bar.
That's a bar. Like those concise
you want to read it out loud
cutting. Yeah.
Folks.
Okay, so for people that are just listening, there's this really gorgeous, and for people that don't know me, I'm a very big sneakerhead, big connoisseur in sneakers. So this box is actually really primo. The box says the email and then walk away kit, gorgeously styled. You have a silhouette of the Air Force Ones with the walk away down there, and then powered by Yotpo email. And then the tagline is the email that simply delivers.
That's Tomer.
No.
That's Tomer.
No.
That's Tomer. I don't think people know this guy is so it's like obviously the deliverability component. There's a lot here.
It's like triple entendre. It's not even a double. Yeah. Really, really nicely made. Okay, now we're opening this up.
Is this a first for Equation of Excellence?
This is a first. I've never done a live unboxing. Okay, gorgeous here. So let me make some room on the desk and get the mic out. Okay, so you have a beautiful insert. Nice weight. I hate when people go cheap on the weight. Beautiful
Excessive.
insert. And then, okay, bear with me. I'm going to narrate this because it's actually a beautiful message. On the front, it's beautiful red, too. I really like this colorway. It's gorgeous. The email, walk away. You'll never know what you're missing until you walk away. Again, love it. Raba, the walk away kit is for the trailblazers who understand that walking towards what they deserve is more impactful than sticking around with what they're used to. Yotpo email is the email that simply delivers on price, service, and expertise. Even if it's not what folks are used to. Cheers to the movers and shakers, and cheers to you. P.S. We'd love to see you rocking your new swag. Snap a pic and share it with #walkaway. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I mean, I love it. I love the messaging. The only thing, because I'm douchey and I always push back on stuff. I would have loved to have this signed off by somebody. This feels so personal, and there's nobody like Tomer, you, somebody, CMO, like, just say, hey, cheers, Raba, or Tomer. That would be the only pushback here, because this is a fake sig, the fake sig or something like that's the only push away, because this feels like it's coming from the company, and this is so intimate that this should have came from a person. Anyway,
that's 100%
this is the unboxing, though. This is what you signed up for, to be fair.
Yeah,
but so far, very, very high marks on this. Like I said, the weight is really, really nice, and the branding. You guys' branding does fuck, though. I've been really impressed with it. Okay,
we've been evolving.
Yes. Not afraid to walk away.
See?
And then these are gorgeous. These are just absolutely gorgeous. These are some Air Force Ones. You have this little custom walk away here. Beautiful. I mean,
you want to hear some other tea?
Yeah, because where'd the colorway come from?
The colorway was designed. Yeah, we designed in like literally end of June. Like this was such a quick turnaround. You wouldn't believe it. This happened within like
these are stunning
3 weeks. The other fun fact is we were working with this third party company somewhere in the US, and literally like 2 days before launch, they're like, well, actually, we've got nothing for them. So this all went live with like 6 pairs of shoes. You were one of 6.
What?
You are one of 6 alongside Harley from Shopify, Taylor, Holiday. There's literally 6 shoes that were literally, we had somebody on the team fly to the factory to sit there and say, like, I'm not leaving until we get 6 shoes, overnight them to the folks. And now we're slowly producing, but we've driven millions of impressions with 6 actual shoes.
Oh my God, I feel so I've been out of the country, to be fair. I've been out of the country.
Turns out we didn't need the actual shoes.
Oh my gosh, that is some proper tea.
That's tea.
But I don't know. Like I said, everything other than that one tiny little pushback, I love it. And then I would say, but I guess it might be a little too much. I would have thrown a QR code on here to sign
Yeah.
up, but I guess like the people you're sending sneakers to aren't necessarily there to sign up for Yotpo. It's more of that influencer, like I think of things in reach and impact.
Yes.
Uh,
There are other
anyways,
cards though. Like there are
that have
various
that.
cards. Some for
I
so there are
love.
cards for customers that are in the middle of a cross sell process
Yep.
and the copy is completely different.
Okay.
There are
Yeah,
agencies.
you're
There's like
steps
six
ahead.
different variations, but
Uh,
yeah.
anyways, no notes on these. I thought it was just such a yeah, it's just perfect. And I think of things in like almost like you always either want to get momentum or keep momentum if you have it. And it just feels like you guys are I kind of use the analogy of like almost being in outer space. And there's, I mean, sometimes there is friction, so there's headwinds, but most times when you get like a killer like you get out of the gravity well, and now you can kind of control your own destiny. And you guys just keep like exploding these little momentum bombs, and then that just starts to compound and compound and compound. And I don't know, I thought that was it was one of the cooler activation campaigns. And the other thing is like people also have to realize, because I love this kind of stuff, but there has to be some like dotted line at worst to business impact. And the way that you are like, now I know Yotpo does email, whether I
Correct.
knew it or before or not. Now I know it does it. And
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
And most
interesting.
people don't. Yeah.
And so like there's this beautiful awareness play that's going on, but there's also this brand restoration play, but there's also this quacky, weird out of the box. I don't know. Absolutely no notes. I thought that you guys just really crushed this campaign, the walk away right off the SMS campaign. And now you have
But let's
injected
also not
humor.
forget. Let's also not forget. Well, two things. First of all, thank you.
Hit me. Yeah.
This is a team effort. I had a small part in this. Number two, let's not forget like Tomer, who's not been a very public figure, getting on a podcast with Sean and Taylor to get absolutely yelled at about pricing. Like this is
Oh,
a
I forgot
right.
about
This is
that.
like this
I
is
thought that was
like
a horrible idea, and it totally landed. I was so nervous. I was like, no, no, got
we
it,
felt we
got
felt the
it.
same way, but this shows like
It
well, this
landed.
is Robin just shooting. This was not planned at all. There was zero planning here. And there's nobody in the world that I trust to get on a podcast with Taylor, Holiday, and Sean from Ridge other than Tomer. Like Tomer is like
That's the lion's
this
den.
this person didn't need prep. This person didn't
Yeah.
need anything. Like I'm being authentic. Like I'm going to tell the actual story as to why we were so expensive and out of touch and how that's changing. I don't need prep.
I mean, so they say crisis management is kind of like threefold. One, you know, you acknowledge the problem. You say,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on? Two, you say, okay, cool. These are the people that are responsible. So I acknowledge a problem. I take responsibility. And then the third phase is how we're going to fix it. And I think you guys are almost on the back end of that third phase of where it's like, I know,
I don't
to
know.
be
I don't know
fair,
we're there yet. I think you should ask some hard hitting questions just so people don't feel like you're being too soft on us.
for you guys, I don't know. Dude, for me, unless you've been in B2B SaaS, pricing packaging is so hard, dude. It's
Yeah.
so hard. Everybody's going to bitch.
Yeah.
And the challenge with B2B SaaS versus D2C is no matter how big your D2C brand gets, whether it's $1 million or 100 million or 500 million a year, everybody sees the world through price, whereas B2B SaaS sees the world through value. So when
Correct.
I get offered opportunities, I never say no because of price. It's always, oh, I don't know if I can ROI that. Where everybody's like, oh, $10,000 a month. I don't care how much ROI I'm going to get. That's $10,000 a month coming out of my
Right.
bank account. Like, no. And so it's a really hard thing there. Where I do think it's interesting is I think there's utilities and accelerants. And I think what you guys are, you guys are a utility. And so utilities get a little bit more, it's harder to compete
Yep.
because everybody's in that, you know, realm. Like everybody
Correct.
wants to be in an electric company or whatever, like ESP and SMS provider, all these things. But the you need it. You know what I mean? Like you need an e-commerce platform, Shopify. You need an ESP. You need an SMS where Fermat is an accelerant where
Correct.
people don't need us, but we can make your company way more money by getting you out of a moped and into a Ferrari. And so there's nothing good or bad about it. It's just two different frameworks of, I will pay utilities way more money because I would not exist if I didn't have electricity to my house. Versus accelerants, we have to really frame things in a way that is really we're just going to make that money printer go burr.
You know,
And that it's challenging, or there's
I
challenges on both sides.
yeah,
But
no, I agree with you 100%. The hot take I'll give you today is the more challenging thing about B2B SaaS is how insufferable some of the people are in terms of like how they don't play the same way. Like I've been in ecom my whole life, and there are sharky people in ecom, but the competition in SaaS is so insane to me. Like the
dude,
level of sharkiness and the level of chaos
dude,
and the threatening and the extortion and the crazy talk is like something like I've been in CX my whole life. This is new to me. Like some of my close friends, some of the people that were whining and dining me before I joined Yotpo, and then all of a sudden it's like arch enemies, and we're both slinging SaaS. Like this is not that deep, and I think that everyone here needs a vacation, some pills,
yeah.
some more jogging. I don't know what it is, but that's like my biggest hot take / whatever for this year. I was blown away how chaotic people are about a couple of $1,000s.
Welcome to the jungle, brother.
Like what? Like what?
It is
Why?
absolutely. There's definitely some really wonderful humans, but
That's for sure.
there is a lot of I mean, and honestly, to be fair, you get that with higher economic stakes.
That's fair.
It just is
That's
what
fair.
it is, where people are fighting, and like uh, very rarely does a D2C brand raise money.
Right.
Almost every successful SaaS company's raised money, and then that means, okay, cool, I just gave you guys $20 million. What
Correct.
the fuck are you doing?
Correct.
Like,
You know,
go
I will
kill.
say that. Like,
So but I totally agree with you. There's a lot of out of bounds stuff that I don't agree with,
yeah.
but I do like I like being in the big leagues. But
And
the knives
the
are sharp.
high
The
stakes.
knives are
Yeah.
sharp.
I will
And when they
say
come from the weird areas, those are the
weird
places I
areas.
don't like. Yeah, those are the things I don't like.
I think I will say like shout out to like the postscript guys. That's like,
Come,
I'm like GG, like this is a good game. Like you steal from us, we steal from you. Like this is a sport.
this is exactly right.
This is a sport. It's like you win one
Exactly
round,
right.
we win the next, and we're both on the same mission to
I
make
love
this
that.
like I saw them at the lead and my friend Mike and I see Beller and it's
Mike
like
is the
hugs.
best.
These guys are
Mike,
legends. And I've been on their side and now I'm playing for a different team. You think the NBA people are fucking shooting each other in the back of the room? Like it's just a
yeah.
game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I love. Where as long as I love healthy competition, as long as it's like above board, no ad hominem bullshit, no
correct.
like weird stuff. Like we're just going company to company and blasting. I actually enjoy it, but
Yes.
The weird negative stuff, not super into. And honestly, I think for the most part, you can operate B2B SaaS with a quasi abundance mentality. It doesn't need to
Yeah.
be this scarcity mentality. And when I bump into people with scarcity mentalities, I'm like, not for
Kind of
me.
icky.
Like, again, no judgment. You can run your company or your life however you want, but I want to surround my people, or I want to surround myself with people like you.
A lot of hot takes. Okay.
I know we brought it in good, huh? I brought the sneakers out and I got y'all fired up. The passion came out.
Yeah, you gotta
Let's
give
go.
the people something to listen to.
Okay, let's wrap it up. I like to end on one question for every podcast. What is your function of excellence? What do you think excellence is a function of?
I think excellence is a function of deeply understanding the problem you're trying to solve. I think most people don't take enough time to try to understand what they're solving and just run to a solution before understanding the problem.
That's gorgeous. One of my favorite quotes was from Jack Dorsey when he was at like peak Twitter. And he would talk about how he went through that like kind of yoga phase or whatever, where he just basically wasn't answering calls and stuff like that. He's like, dude, I just need to get out of it because what was happening was I was coming to the first solution, not the best solution.
Wow. That's a bar.
Yeah, it's a bar. Okay, Eli, how can people sign up? How can they follow you? How can they sponsor your newsletter, which was a great buy for us, by the way. We, full disclosure, did sponsor his newsletter, which is fantastic. And again, see above, if you guys are trying to break through, create quality content. That it is truly a superpower. At worst, you'll become a better writer and communicator. At best, it'll unlock doors that it'll give you guys the opportunity. I mean, a bazillion dollar series gazillion company's CEO founder was reading your second newsletter. And like that, like
Changed my life.
that's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. Creating
And so like
content changed my life.
it happens slower than you think and then faster than you think. So I would definitely keep hammering. But sorry,
Yeah.
I rained on your parade.
No, no,
Plug
no.
whatever you want. Get in there.
No, it's easy. It's Eli Weiss with an extra. So ELIWEISSS.com or Eli Weiss with an extra S on Twitter or just Eli Weiss on LinkedIn. I'm fairly easy to find. Yotpo is Yotpo. So it's YOTPO.
Let's go get you some emails. Go annoy him. I have a 1 of 6.
Right now. I mean, there are hundreds being produced,
but I just felt
like
I was in the
today.
6-pack.
Yes.
It's like the kids won't remember, but back in the day, you used to have a circle with T-Mobile. I was in your circle.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my heart is so full. Dude, you're just such a. I just get so much energy from you. I always say, I know when I do a really good pod when I leave with more energy than I had, and I am absolutely fired up, and the brand stuff that you guys are doing is just absolutely sensational. And so all credit to you and your team. I've been just uberly impressed.
Thanks, King.
If you want to see the brand stuff that we're doing, you can go to firmoutcommerce.com. You want to do some experimentations. You want to make some more money for your Shopify stores. We do landing pages, custom PDPs, create funnels, not ads. Go to firmoutcommerce.com, book a demo. My boss will love you for it. And then we have a great newsletter that goes out.
Insane team.
Yeah.
Like stack team.
I'm pretty happy with the kids on the court. Or it feels a little bit like the NBA Olympics,
Insane.
the USA team, when you go through the starters and then you're like, okay, what's the bench? And you're like, nobody's beating those people.
No chance.
We're super thankful and grateful for my team. Our co-founders are killers, products super awesome. So, and then sign up. We have a newsletter, goes out every Monday, curated by the indomitable Alexa Kilroy, our director of marketing, called The Geometry of Growth. You can sign up right on the website. But that's another one of the books. Eli, thank you so much for all the flexibility on the scheduling and just for such a wonderful, eloquent, and thoughtful podcast, man. You're just so well spoken. It felt like I was on the bus ride again. You're just phenomenal.
I appreciate you.
I just couldn't get enough of you. So go follow Eli, one of my favorite feeds out there. Go sub to the newsletter. And then if Yotpo fits into your business mix, go check them out. And then also follow the founder is also starting to do a lot of really cool content there as well. So go check him out. But Eli, thank you so much for the time, brother. Love you, miss you. I'll be out in New York-ish soon. So I'll ping you when I'm out there, and then we need to have you come speak or something. We're gonna have a bunch of events here in Austin. So
I'm down.
Bring you out. We have an office out here now. Again,
pull me through, Coach.
Office. Yeah, so it'd be amazing.
I love you too, and I'll see you hopefully in Austin.
Amazing.
If not in New York.
Amazing. All right, folks, that's all we got. Another one in the books. Go make sure you smash the subscribe button. And then this is also on YouTube if you want to see Eli's beautiful Yotpo swag and stellar plant setup. And then that green kind of goes hard on that chair.
It's a lot of green.
It's like that velvet. I fuck with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of green.
All right, folks, I think that's the longest sign off in history, but here it is. We'll see you on the flip. Bye-bye.